Alright, what is going on everybody? Welcome back. My name is Alex and today I'm going to be sharing with you guys what I have found to be Batgirl's highest DPS build in the game. Now there are some other builds that give you some really good burst damage, but as far as just overall constant DPS, this build is going to be the way to go. Now even though the numbers you see in this video are going to be a little bit on the high side because my character is pretty much maxed out. She has level 60 melee and range weapon with all level 60 crit damage mods, and my suit is actually still level 40, but that doesn't really matter. These numbers are going to be high, but this build also still going to work even at lower levels as long as you have the right gear pieces. And one more thing to keep in mind is that all of my gear is perfectly crafted. And if you didn't know, if you weren't aware, there is a system in the game that when you craft, sometimes you get exceptionally crafted gear and sometimes you just get normal gear. The exceptionally crafted gear has higher stats in some spots, so whenever you're crafting, be on the lookout for that because not all gear is crafted equally. And the basis around this build is to try to get the highest base damage we can and the highest crit damage we can. We don't care about crit chance, we need base damage and crit damage. And on top of that, we're trying to keep our health bar full at all times. Now the first thing we're going to look at is the suit. And for this particular build, we're going to need a legendary version of the regenerator suit. Now it has to be legendary. The perk that we need does not roll on the epic version, so you actually need the legendary version. And the level of the suit doesn't matter because as you can see here, mine is still level 40. I haven't found an upgrade yet, so the suit level doesn't matter. It just has to be legendary. Now taking a look at the perks that we have here, all of these perks are pretty much god tier perks for this build because like I said earlier, we want to try to be at max health at all times. And untouchable shell, this increases our defense whenever our health is full, so that means when we do have max HP, any hit that takes us below full HP is not going to do as much damage as it normally would because we're going to have increased defense. And then knockout shell, whenever we use an ability, increases our armor, so that's less damage we're going to be taking whenever we use an ability. And then we have the perk that is pretty much essential for the build, which is Ruthless Heal. Grants health over time every time we deal a critical damage. And spoiler alert for the rest of the build, every hit we do is going to be a crit, so this is always going to be activated. We're always going to be constantly healing, we're always going to be doing crits, and as long as we're playing smart, we're always going to be either at full HP or right below full HP. Now if you don't have a legendary version of the regenerator suit, one alternative is not quite as good, it's not quite as potent, but you can use the reinforced suit. There's a perk on there called TKO heal, so whenever you actually kill an enemy, you're going to start regenerating health. So it is good, it's not quite as potent, and you actually have to get a kill vice just getting a hit. But if you don't have the regenerator suit, I would suggest trying that one out. Now moving on to our melee weapon, which is going to be the Jumpstart Tonfa. Now I'm not entirely sure if this is a new weapon for Batgirl, but I never saw it until Heroic Assault came out, and I know some of the heroes got new weapons. If this was already in the game before Heroic Assault and I missed it, I don't know how I did. But this weapon is amazing. So it comes with base 60% crit damage on here, so all we need to do is put crit mods, so that by itself is amazing. And the perks we have on here, we have Ruthless Power, increases our damage for a short duration. Whenever we deal crit damage, we're always going to be doing crits, so this is always going to be active. And then we have Critical Will, which increases crit damage and instantly grants momentum when our health is low. This doesn't come into play too often because we usually have full HP here, but you never know, it could happen. You could get juggled by a whole bunch of enemies. Not a necessary part of the build, but it's still good to have in your back pocket regardless. And then we have Knockout Heal. Knocking out an enemy with the momentum ability instantly heals for a certain amount of health. This is actually pretty clutch because if you weren't aware, Batgirl's ground slam ability hits really hard. It costs 2 bars, but the amount of damage it does and the amount of heals that it gives you is a pretty good trade-off, I would say. And as far as the mods that I'm using 3 level 60 crit damage mods, which put my crit damage all the way up to 249%. And that is just base from her weapon. So when you take into account the perks inside of her ability tree that give her more crit chance and crit damage, as you can see here, I have a 20% crit chance, but my crit damage is at 369%, with my base damage being at 2,426. So our light attacks, our heavy attacks are all going to be doing crazy damage. And also, if you didn't know about Batgirl, or if it's something that you kind of forgot, whenever you kill an enemy with Batgirl's heavy attack, it actually heals you. So keep that in mind. If you're about to finish the enemy off and you need some more HP, make sure that you use a heavy attack. Now moving on to the ranged weapons, which is the final piece of the build, and we're going to be using the Lucky Batarang. These things are cracked out and the build will not work without these. This is pretty much the battery for the entire build. So if you don't have this, legendary, the build isn't going to work. Now what we have on here is Ruthless Momentum. Grants additional momentum after dealing critical damage, and this build revolves around doing all crits, but this only activates on your ranged attacks from what I've seen. I could be wrong. I've used this build a lot, but from everything I've seen, this does not activate on your melee attack. So if you're getting close to filling up a momentum bar and you just need like a little extra boost, then just go ahead and start throwing out some of your batarangs. Now the batarangs are also always going to crit, so the damage is actually not that bad. You probably could just use this build as a pure range DPS, but of course her melee attacks are always going to do way more damage. Now moving on to the second perk, we have Ultimate Offense. This is pretty much a non-starter. It does come in handy whenever you use your ultimate ability, but it's not going to be, an important part of the build. What this does is increases crit chance for a short duration and increases critical damage of the next attack after using an ultimate ability. So this only activates on one attack right after you use your ultimate. It's pretty pointless. This perk in total is pretty pointless. I'm not entirely sure what this is supposed to do, and then last but not least, the most important perk on this build is Untouchable Vengeance. Guarantees a critical hit whenever your HP is full. So as long as you have full HP, all of your attacks are going to crit. Your range attacks, your melee attacks, your momentum attacks. Of course, there's some enemies in the game that you actually can't crit, like those riot police officers. You can't crit those guys. You can't crit the man bat, but you're still gonna do, pretty good damage. And this, in combination with all the healing we have on this build, you're always gonna have full HP. You're always gonna be critting. And if by some off chance you end up taking a whole lot of damage just out of nowhere, just go ahead and pop one of Batgirl's med kits. Those things are crazy strong. They pretty much full heal you. So her med kits in combination with all her healing, you're always gonna have full HP. And of course, we're gonna be using all level 60 crit damage mods here. And that is all you guys need to make this build. Now I'm going to jump into some gameplay and show you guys some tips and tricks that I picked up while just using Batgirl, how to optimize some of her damage. But if you just wanted to see what was inside the build, what you need to make it, there you go. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope this was helpful. And for everybody else, I shall see you guys in like 2 seconds. And we are back. We are on floor 30 inside of Heroic Assault. We're using our same build. And let me show you guys how this works. So pretty much for the most part, you want to get as much momentum as you can, right out the gate. And it's usually pretty easy if you just, you can just chuck your, oh my God. You can just chuck your batarangs to get that little bit of momentum. And you see, just by getting those crits, my health is constantly going up. And the second that goes to full HP, then you have 100% crit chance. Like, except on these guys, you can't crit these riot shield guys or riot police, but everybody else, like the man bat, you also can't crit. But everybody else just gets crit non-stop. Doesn't matter if you take a little bit of damage here and there. Even these guys right here, you the beat down, all crits. Now, if you want to take this up one level, you want to use Batgirl's skill where she buffs. This increases your crit damage even more. And it just makes you do so much damage. 20k on a normal, that was a light attack. So yeah, this build is really good just for like all around play. You don't have to think about a whole lot, but you're always just doing damage. Oh, what? Yeah, look at that, dude. That's pretty much 4k just from a batarang. It's crazy. Oh. And her ground slam, like I was talking about earlier. This like a 90k on this guy right here just now. Yeah, it's the damage is pretty insane. And also, when you a little loop that's really good to do Now you're gonna get your 2 bars, and then you want to activate your bats because your bats also crit. And since it's a ranged ability, they help you get more momentum. So like it's really good, man. She does so much damage, dude. And even little momentum abilities like this, those do 20k, 22k. So as long as you're full HP, which is pretty much going to be all the time, you're going to be doing like just dumb damage. And these enemies are level 60, so you know they're a little bit more stronger than us, but the level 60 mods, they make everything, you know, balance out. And this is quote unquote the at 94k. This is quote unquote the hardest, you know, content in the game right here, and it's a complete cakewalk. But yeah, that's pretty much the build in a nutshell, man. You just want to play the game like normal and don't have to think about doing a lot of damage. It just kind of happens. Yeah, 73k. Okay, 90k again. So yeah, it's there are a couple builds that actually do a little bit more damage, but you have to kind of set up to get the damage, and then you get the damage, and then you gotta set up all over again. Like this just gave you straight up damage, you know, non-stop. You don't have to even do anything besides just play the game like normal. So yeah, man, that's the build. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys try to build out, and let me know if you got any other crazy Batgirl builds, because I don't know why I haven't been using Batgirl, but she's slowly starting to become my favorite. Like it was Robin, you know, replacing my Red Hood, but now like I think it's Batgirl. I want to try to work on Nightwing next because he seems to be the weakest out the bunch. Like he's very powerful, but like he just doesn't have that one thing that just makes him, you know, like really good. So yeah, man, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that shenanigans down below, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.